Yeah, no problem, man. So there we go. We're going. We're live. Not live, but recording live. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, great, great, great.
Good, good. So you said that you had something going on tonight, an interview or a podcast. When we were texting before the show started.
Yeah, so working with a few creatives right now on a animated series project, and right now it's four of us, and we're looking for that fifth element, a someone in marketing that could kind of help us get this going.
What is it? Can you talk about the project?
Oh, sure. So I actually wasn't familiar with this until just a couple weeks ago. Someone brought it to my attention. It's a what do you call it? Vertical filmmaking.
Vertical filmmaking. I guess that would make sense. Okay.
Yes, mainly, the platform is your phone, and what it is it's a basically it's a full story, maybe like a full length feature, and it's divided up into 1 minute segments where there's a cliffhanger.
Mm,
And I guess this became really popular in China a few years ago. I could send you an article after this
yeah,
interview.
yeah, yeah. Do it.
And it started to get popular in the United States. And a lot of them are drama related. It's kind of like a soap opera, but bite-sized soap opera episodes that you watch on your phone.
That's what I
So
was about to say. It sounds like a like serious mini series, which is kind of interesting because it makes me think about seasons of shows nowadays. I feel like there's only you only get 8 or 9, forty
right.
five minutes, maybe an hour now. But I remember 15 years ago we had certain seasons on like Stargate where you would get 30 episodes in one season.
Right.
Um, it's kind of funny seeing that. How many are typically episodes are in like a season of these soap operas or these real miniseries?
Well, this is definitely new to me. So there's a story that I'm writing right now. I'm writing it in film script format, and
Nice.
finished the first 25 pages. We have meetings every Thursday, and our last meeting come to the realization that I'm writing too much, and
Mm.
it needs to be kind of honed down a little bit. And so we put it through this AI generator to take the elaborate dialogue and bring it down to two pages, 2 minutes
Yeah.
for the bite-sized episodes, and then from there we take that and then fine tune it, put a human element back into it and fine tune it. And so we're just trying to figure out best course of action. It's going to be a limited anime series, so yeah.
Okay. Nice. Can you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, it's a drama. It's a story that I've actually had in my mind quite some time called Summer's Summon Savannah, and it's a drama
Summers.
about
Summers summon Savannah.
summon, like summoning,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Okay.
Savannah is the name Savannah. And the uh, the story idea actually came back to life because I recently, a few months ago, I produced a film called In the Life of an Independent Film Producer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a short, dark comedy about. It's loosely based on me and the struggles I've gone through over the years being a local film producer, and kind of covers some of the crazy archetypes, the people that you kind of run into in the film industry, and
Oh yeah.
it definitely resonated. A lot of audience members liked it who've seen it so far, but it's definitely resonated more with people who are involved in the film industry, and that was my intent in the first place. And so, long story short, it was at a local film festival recently, and a friend of mine saw it, and he really liked it. And he goes, "You know what? It would be cool to actually maybe do a lengthier story based on this character, and maybe do an anime drama about it." And that's when
Mm.
I, heard about the vertical filmmaking, and yeah, the rest is history. Now we're working on it.
And so you said you guys are looking for the fifth element here, the marketer. So who you're the writer, you already have someone that's like probably producing more of it. You're probably taking a hand in that. I'm also going to assume. What other people do you have working on this?
Yeah, so we have a composer, a writer, an animator, and a you know what, for the life of me, I'm trying to think exactly what the last person does. It also involves music. I'm so
Right,
sorry,
right,
I'm a little
right.
scatterbrained, but yeah. So another member of the group um, has some ideas for someone in marketing, more particularly who is knowledgeable with that kind of market, the vertical filmmaking market. So yeah, we're just trying to figure that out now.
I feel like when it comes to vertical filmmaking, there's not, and maybe it's just my ignorance on this and my creativity just hasn't expanded to that realm yet, right? But I can't see how, like, I feel like there's a limited amount of stories that you could possibly tell. I think you could still get very creative, but when you're looking at like a 16:9, when you're looking at a horizontal, regular, we'll call it filmmaking, horizontal filmmaking, there's a lot more you could do. You could see a lot more.
Oh,
I think these, we'll call them, I mean, I'll call them shorts. These shorts, I think they would be really good for more horror stuff almost, because you can only see one person and you have to use your imagination to what's on the other side of that. I feel like, I guess I could go for anything really now that I think about it, but it's kind of interesting. And I'm very curious to see where this really develops more into, with other people taking on filmmaking in the vertical. Cause I've thought about it, but I've always been like, I feel like it's a little bit of a challenge. It has to be very structured in a way, to make it make sense. So I'm very eager to see Summer Summons Savannah. What do you guys have, like a drop date for it? I know you guys are probably, what you guys in pro?
yeah, pre-pro. We're still trying to figure out structurally how we're going to produce these episodes.
Right, right, right.
I had a meeting last night with the animator, and we've pretty much solidified what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then we have our weekly meetings Thursday mornings, so we'll discuss it then. So far, I've done 25 pages, and after reproducing it into the segments, we have 11 segments so far. So 11 episodes essentially that we need to
Nice.
just fine tune a little more. And then we realized that, with the AI generator that's used, the more detailed information that we give it, the better the prompt.
Right.
So basically we've decided I'm going to just continue to write the feature film script and just go about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll just keep generating those smaller bite-sized episodes, see what it has, look through it, fine-tune it, give it more of a human element again,
Now
and then
you
go from there.
see the AI part. Right now, I feel like it's a good tool to have.
Oh
Right.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But have you seen the Google VO, like these new videos coming out of like Bigfoot in Yosemite Park, and it's completely AI animated, and he's got like a vlog stick, and he's going around talking with people, and there's other ones where like he's asleep, and an alien comes out of nowhere, takes his little vlogging stick, and just starts. They do like an actual vlog,
Mm.
and it's completely AI generated off the new Google stuff. Have you seen some of that? Like I think it's like really so new, maybe about a week or so old.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, and
Wild.
for me, AI, it's such a gray area for me. I had
Yeah.
a friend who sent me a video the other day, and it was a compilation video of all of these different film and stand-up comedy segments and
Mm-hmm.
live, on the street interviews, and they were all AI generated.
Crazy.
And a part of me started to get a little depressed because
Mm-hmm.
it started to make me realize, like, wow, did I just waste the last 20 years of my life developing all these skill sets to just be replaced by AI in the next few years?
Well,
So that's why I'm definitely trying to learn as much as I can about AI and utilizing it as a tool. So in essence, we're not phased out
I don't
completely.
I don't think you can phase out a human element. Um, I think that there's still going to be people out there who want to see somebody live. There's something you get from that. I've been watching a bunch of Joe Rogan recently where he's been talking about it, right? With AI, and it's kind of funny because I think about a week ago I was watching one of his episodes. I don't remember which one it was, but he made a comment talking about AI that AI could never do comedy. It wouldn't understand it. Right now, I'm pretty sure he meant live comedy, but I have seen some of those AI clips of comedy, and
Yeah.
it makes me laugh because it's funny. But and then it's like, whoa, wait a second, like this is actually kind of scary here too. So it's interesting that yeah, there's a huge fear of pretty much anybody can be replaced.
Hmm.
Anybody can. But I think there's always going to be that human element. So with there being like 20 years put into this, I don't think that it's going to replace you or take you out. I think it really gives you an ability because you know exactly the ins and the outs. Now it's time where before I feel like us creatives and filmmakers, we were, strapped by the hand because I need to go ahead and put together X amount of dollars for this project just for the crew, just to feed them, gas stipends. If you're really working on something that has some level and some grit to it, even then on a smaller one, you got to compensate your guys. And it's almost like that part all goes out of the window, but your knowledge of how to and what you want to create. Now that roadblock of where's the money can now just go towards the marketing. And with TikTok and everything else, social media, if you do it right, you could have free marketing. So it's like you could really make a blockbuster movie these days, um, for a fraction of the cost of it. What I think it would make of what it would cost to make like a student film. Because sometimes these student films they raise a couple $1,000s. I feel like nowadays you can make a full length blockbuster, give or take some bad acting in between with the AI, but you can make a
Sure.
blockbuster movie. But it's a terrifying thing at the same time because we do love to be on set.
Hmm.
You know, there's that feeling. So it's like, though it helps us achieve, I think, what we've always wanted to do, there's also that shadow fear of like, we're growing out of the phase of teamwork, project based, where we all have to come together for a common goal. Now it's like, we don't have to do that. You only get to do that if you want to do that, if you want the experience, but no real business is going to do that. I feel like, right? They're always going to be like, well, we could just use Google's AI, make
Sure.
everything we need. Chat GPT makes the prompts, refine it over here, whatever. It's a really gray area. It's
Yeah.
terrifying. It's so terrifying.
Yeah. It's definitely a new frontier, and that's why instead of me pouting about it, which
Yep.
I did for one day, I got to tell you, when I saw that video, I was right in the middle of writing a script, and when I watched it, I just had a lot of self reflection for the rest of that day.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh
But
yeah.
now I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I was at a play the other night with a friend, and he introduced me to another friend who's a AI guru, and he's we're actually going to get together this Friday, and he's going to show us all the ins and outs, things that he knows about prompt and
Yep.
putting things in. And one of the questions I asked, and I'm probably going to get more information, when we work together on Friday, is, he was talking about, I could have 12 pictures of you. And with those 12
Mm,
pictures, I could create an entire scene where you couldn't differentiate, the difference between the real world and this computer generated world. And people will actually think that you're doing this. And then I thought to myself, well, would I come off more like Data from Star Trek if you only have 12 photos of me? And if I were to act out a scene, would my likeness be more human like when
mm,
generating that computer world? So I kind of like that idea.
yeah.
I'm probably get more of those answers, one more of those questions answered, when we get together on Friday. But if that's the case, then I can actually see AI as a tool, as opposed to just this instrument that's going to phase out artists entirely.
Yeah.
Just like how electrical different computer equipment kind of revolutionized music in the 80s. People were frowning upon it. There was a lot of musicians that were using a lot of these tools, and they're like, well, you're not a real musician anymore. you know Today, if we
Hmm.
observe that situation, we say to ourselves, well, no, they were really still working hard on producing this music.
Yeah.
I think this AI could be the same thing, maybe just more of an exponential curve, because you could, like you said, you could make this, an entire blockbuster film with all these crazy scenes and everything, but maybe the actors could still act it out, not even in front of a green screen, but just in a room somewhere, actually, have the knowing, really be in
Hmm.
depth, do the scene, and then implement that so it actually feels more realistic. So, Is it 100% AI? Is it 50% AI, 50% human? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
it's
that's interesting.
it's a weird
Y'all,
weird time.
there's two things. I was watching this movie last night. What is it called? Without a Trace. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh man, hopefully I'm getting it right. I don't remember who was in it. I was watching it late last night. I should have been asleep, but I was like, you know what? Let me stay up anyway. Let me binge some Netflix. But essentially, Without a Trace, she's a like data scientist, like data security, cybersecurity, and this was way back in like 2008, 2004, one of those times. And what's terrifying is even then, the type of things that they could create that I didn't know that they could do on the internet in 2008. Right? I thought they could do it in 2015 because in 2008 I was like what 11, right? So I barely even knew too much of what the internet was in itself. But it was terrifying to me because it was like, wow. And now seeing where everything is with the internet, I don't think it is the internet anymore. Like that is completely phased out and gone. I think we
Mhm.
really have entered into like a whole new cultural era because of it. And what you were talking about with your friend, him being able to create different versions of you with just 12 photos and even, taking your voice, he could have you do or say anything.
Yeah.
It makes me really think more of cyberpunk and that there's no way that we can actually safeguard any of this because eventually someone's going to see themselves in an AI. Like an AI is going to create somebody that's actually real, and that person, and it's going to be seen. Like let's say in a movie, and nobody they see an opportunity to sue. How do you do that? Because the AI
Right.
is going to have to only generate a certain amount of people. Now, though it can generate an infinite amounts of different variations, it's taking it from the 7 billion ish people here on Earth, right? So eventually, it's going to create somebody that already looks like that, and I'm curious on how that's going to play out. Like imagine you go to the movies and you see yourself in a blockbuster AI, sitting down, and you're like, this is the craziest thing. What do you do? Do you roll with it? Do you not? Is it you? Is it not? People hate you for something, that happened in the movie, because a lot of people gravitate towards that. I feel like when you're playing a character, especially if it's a villain, they view you, the actual person, as that villain.
Yeah.
So it could be a crazy thing. Do you think
No,
it will help actors? Because you're an actor yourself, right?
right. Yeah.
Do you think
I am.
AI could help you as an actor in some way?
I I think it can, uh, to a certain degree. Again, it's really strange time. There's no telling where the film industry is going to go with all this
Oh
new
yeah.
technology. And so this Friday, uh, my friend and I, we actually have a script that we've been wanting to do, and we're going to
Hmm.
see if we could do it through AI instead, and not
That's
even
crazy.
just act out a couple scenes and see how realistic we can make it, and maybe we'll go that route and just start producing films that way. You know,
It may be the way, brother. It may
yeah.
be the way.
I have no idea. But to actually be in it, be on set, scenery all around, you're there with the other actor, and the depth, the prep, all that might go out the window. We
Yeah.
don't know.
I think I think it could save a lot of money. I still see it mainly as a tool. I don't think it'll take away the film industry. I think we'll just see a lot more use of it, and we're going to
Yeah,
see a lot of crappy movies trying to implement it till it really gets good.
yeah.
Um,
It'll be
but I think,
heavily saturated for sure.
oh yeah, but I think it's still going to be very interesting. You mentioned 20 years in the industry. It's quite some time.
Yeah.
It's quite some time. So how much have you seen like just the technology changing from 20 years ago to now? Huge,
Oh yeah,
crazy,
absolutely. Yeah,
wild.
yeah. 2008. I'd say like 2007, 2008. It was such a dramatic shift when smartphones came in.
Oh yeah.
Because I still remember when I was so back in 2008, I was 21, and
Nice.
I had a Razor phone. And to be honest with you, I miss those days. I miss the
Yes.
days where if you needed to go online and look something up, you actually had to dismiss yourself from reality and go inside and actually be in front of a computer screen. Whereas now everybody is just jacked into the Matrix 24/7.
Yeah, dude.
It's such a completely different world, and to be honest with you, I don't like it because
You know,
the personal
me neither.
interactions just don't exist anymore.
No, it really doesn't. And I've seen a shift in that, especially in the past 5 years. Once COVID hit, I think there was just this big technology boom where everybody just got face planted and we all just built up a habit of the phones always there. And now I see it 5 years later and I'm like, it's everywhere. I can't get away from tech. I want to get away from the technology because there's so much of it. But at the same time, I'm like, it's fun. I like it. I love it. You know, it's still nice to have around. It does make things more convenient. Like, why not use it if it is here? But at the same time, I think, as you said, I think it's very unhealthy for a lot of people. It's very addictive. It really, really is in a whole bunch of different ways. I find myself on it where I'm like, I need to just throw my phone. I actually throw it just across the room. I don't look where, and then I walk out of the room and I go do something. And then I got to spend, however long looking for it because I'm like, I need it. I don't know where to do without it. I need it back. So it's all over the place, right?
Yeah.
That's wild, man. What kind of phone do you have right now?
What kind of phone?
Yeah.
Just a cheap Android phone. I don't
Love
really
it.
spend a lot of money on phone.
Love it, dude. You really don't need to.
Yeah.
You really don't, especially in this day and age. Like, what? Every single time a new phone comes out, I used to be one of those people waiting in line, just like, all right, I need to get it real quick. I need this, I need that. No. I stopped doing that, and it doesn't change too much. Yeah, it's nice to get it when you need it, but at the end of the day, it's like, nah, you don't need it. It's all the same.
Yeah, I'd rather spend the money on more gear for editing, and
There
I
you
still
go.
like my computer. I
What
prefer
do
my
you run?
computer over my. I'm sorry.
What do you run for your PC?
Oh, I have. It's a little older, but it does the job. It's a Intel i7. So
Nice, brother.
yeah, it's older. And then 10 series graphics card.
Beautiful.
Just
Hey,
just
I
just
think
enough
you're
to
still good.
support 4K when you're editing.
Absolutely. I think, look, 1080 is, I have a 1080 Ti in one of my rigs. I love it. It still runs great. It's great. I really don't think that there's a huge difference. Sure. I wouldn't say huge. It depends what game you're playing. I'll say that because there's still some older games that just look beautiful. Absolutely stunning 10 years ago that still kicks some games ass today from AAA developers, So I think you can still very much have so much fun. Do you do a lot of gaming on PC?
No, not really. I honestly, I just don't have the time. But I do play some games on my VR, my Oculus.
There you go. Do you have the new one? The one that you can like kind of see and interact with it, or is it the full-on goggles?
It's the full-on goggles. It's Oculus Quest 2.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I had one of those, but I sold it because I was like, eventually I want to get that Quest 3. But I was like, maybe I'll be too plugged into the Matrix then.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to put it down.
Luckily, it has a 2-hour battery life, give or take. So
that's so crazy.
Which I like because it's like, once it crashes, it takes a while to recharge. So I'm like, great, I'm done.
It gives you a little bit of a break. Have you seen this is brand new too, another thing from Google, those Google glasses? Have you seen those new ones that you can like talk to and it's like on the lens itself, it pops up and shows you where you're going and coffee shops? Like it's always watching. It's like at the same time, like you get no privacy, none.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I don't like
none.
it. I love technology, but it's weird because technology, I feel like we're in this I think it's been a while. We've had this fork in the road between going into Orwell's 1984 or Star Trek. And I feel like we're drifting more into 1984 day by day with technology.
I think we have to go that route though.
Yeah.
I think that there needs to be that type of cycle so we can learn. Like we're I feel like right now as a human race, we're a little kid. We're a little kid who has this brand new toy and like we just want the upgrades and we're going to have so much fun with it and like look what it can do and look what it can do. But we're going to break it. Yeah. I feel like we're going to break it, and that's just what has to happen in order for us to be like, okay, let's take care of our toy. Like there has to be some responsibility to this. right? The toy's going to get a little old sometimes, and you got to use it smartly. And I think in order to understand on how to be smarter with a product or service, you have to know what not to do. In order to do that, we're going to have to fail with this because, I mean, every day there's some new advancement. Every week there's this new product, this new service, whatever it may be, right? And eventually it's all going to give. It has to. And I think we're going to go through a crazy little, hopefully not an AI revolution this early on. Hopefully we're dead and gone for that. You know what I mean? I don't want Terminator happening as cool and as weird as it would be. I don't want to see the world and you know destroyed over all of it. But I don't
Yeah.
know, man. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Terminator 2, it's funny with the date. I think it was August 29th, 2029 is when Skynet went live and nuclear war happened. Yeah, there's a few movies like that. There's one movie, I think it's called Colossus, and it's from the 70s, and basically it was this supercomputer that ended up hijacking the world, and it was run by AI, if I remember correctly, and so it was kind of dictating to the world what humans should and shouldn't do. And yeah, there's really no telling where things are going to go from here.
Well, I mean, even though AI may come in, we could still do what it is that we love to do. And for you, it's filmmaking. You also mentioned writing too. Do you have any books out already?
No, not books. I just do
The
scripts.
scripts. Do you
Yeah,
want to get into books eventually?
short films. I mean, maybe if I have time. I'm so pulled in so many different directions artistically, and so I try to hone in on like maybe 3 projects
Mm.
and just really focus on those. Otherwise, I'll have 50 projects and never finish anything.
That's kind of where I'm at. I've had to really learn to tell myself no and
Yeah.
really stay focused because these ideas they come popping in all the time. And I
Mhm.
used to keep a notebook next to me and a pen and just write these ideas down because I just figured it was more meaningful and it slowed me down in the moment to try to capture those. But
Yeah.
there's so many thoughts. It's hard to keep up. So
Yeah.
now when I have a thought, I wait. I wait to see if it comes back. I give myself like a couple days. Like if it's a really, really, really good idea, I'm gonna fester on it. I'm gonna try not to think about it, but if it pops in my head anyway, okay, let me write it down and I'll look at it. Let me stay focused on what I'm working on over here and keep going. And it's a discipline like that. It
Yeah,
really
for
is.
sure.
Is there
No,
anything that you do to keep you going through working on three multiple projects at a time? It must get exhausting at times, no?
yeah, it can. I
Yeah.
usually let um, I usually let trends, information, and groups of creatives that want to work with me kind of guide me into certain directions. Like so, for instance, the vertical filmmaking thing that I'm doing
Yeah.
now. I'm working on a story that I've been wanting to work on for quite some time. I never planned on it going down this route. I wanted to make a movie out of it, but I just follow opportunities and then just kind of, okay, well, I'm going to do this project because this window is open right now in order to accomplish it, rather than spending a lot of time on another project where no one wants to work on it. I don't have the proper resources or other people to help me with it. And I see a lot of artists, they get trapped that way because
Yeah.
they have this passion project they really need to get off the ground right now, and it just doesn't work out. And then, now they're a starving artist and nothing to show for it. So,
So your mentality is take the work, take the opportunity, work on your passion project along the way instead of focus everything on your passion project and hope that that lifts off or does something.
yeah, or, find that happy balance,
Mm.
which, I did with this project, working on this script. I'm still writing the feature script, which is something I always wanted to do. But then ultimately it will be changed into the 2-minute bite-size
Mm.
episodes, and who knows, maybe down the road if it actually has a cult following and people want to see the feature film version of it, I already have it written.
You could still make that too.
Yeah. Other than that, what I've been concentrating on for the past, I'd say 6, 7 months is just producing a bunch of short films that I star in to help build my portfolio as an actor,
Hmm.
and just increasing the quality of my demo reel, and just trying to find that one lucky gig that really gets me off the ground.
What do you think it'll be? What do you
But
hope it'll be?
oh, like the big gig that really
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gets
Like,
me
what do
going.
you wish that moment to be like? You just meet somebody at some random festival, and they're like, "All right, we'll see you Tuesday," or is it like you're
Yeah.
just working your ass off, and then one little thing like explodes, and that just puts you into the right room with the right people at the right time? Like, how do you think it'll happen for you?
Oh man, I don't know. It's funny that you say that. Running into random people at because I went to industry night at Phoenix Film Festival, and
Hmm.
I met someone there who I'm now working with doing these vertical filmmaking
Yeah.
series. So yeah, if this takes off, then that'll be my story. I ran into someone at a film festival.
I think film festivals are a little underrated, and we've had very few far in between
Mhm.
good film festivals, I would feel like.
Yeah.
I think we have our traditional ones that go on. There's Chandler, there's Tucson, sure.
Mhm.
Um, Arizona filmmakers, they have they kind of do a little bit more high end, targeted to seems like a more younger audience that always shows up, at least what they put on their social media and stuff. But everything from them here in Arizona seems to always be on the uptrend with that. And being to a handful of filmmaking events here, oh man, I think that there's such an energetic spark, a lot of drama and politics too, which is one of the reasons why definitely stepped away, seeing a lot of it. Nothing to do with me personally, but just watching, right? Um, but I think that's just wherever you go
Yeah.
with it. But what I was saying was going back to is the filmmaking, the networking events out here, they really do provide you with an actual experience to go meet other people. Like some of the coolest projects I've ever had to work on were from people that I met at filmmaking events.
Yeah.
The networking
Absolutely.
events, it's so good because like you're around your people. And I've had people ask me throughout the years, like, hey, how do you even get started in any of this? It's like, well, first, then when I was looking into it, I just went onto Facebook groups, saw wherever there was a meetup at a coffee shop, people
Mhm.
just talking films, talking about scripts, and you just socialize.
Yeah.
One person. And it's almost like speed dating. You try to talk to as many people as you can, figure out, all right, who's doing what I want to be doing, and still keep an open mind, be polite, conversate with people. But when you find someone that's like, oh, they're a director. What do you do? How did you do it? All right, what are you working on? Can I be a PA? What do you have available? And that's the thing,
Yeah.
though, in the film industry, you got to kind of be available for some of these things to start out, right?
Yeah.
It's not a
Absolutely.
set schedule. Like there's going to be projects that you work on that are going to fall completely through. I've had it happen. I mean, you're going to shoot, you're going to go through all of it. It's going to go through post. It's going to look great, but it still may never even get out.
Right.
Something could
Yeah.
still happen right before the finish line. They're like, all right, you know what? It's not even going to air. And it's crazy because that's happened a few times. So it's like you can put your love and your soul into all of this, meet somebody, and almost feel like you're about to have like a huge break, and then just it breaks off for you. It's
Mhm.
so versatile. But jumping into Facebook groups is probably one of the biggest things. Finding those networking events around you with whatever they are. There's a bunch of apps out there that do event stuff. Those two things, and just socializing and finding the people that you want to be around. And if you don't know what you want to do, even better, because then you could talk to every department, make a
Mhm.
friend, and then you just compound that over time.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've been doing it for 20 years. I'm pretty sure you've met thousands of people working on films, related to films, thousands of conversations, probably been on, hundreds of sets, a variety of sizes, some that are super fluid and
Mhm.
just flow nice. And you're like, this was good. And then some where you're like, I want to go home. This is not good. I don't like this. Well, what is happening, right? And it's funny when you see those balances, um, because it really puts things into perspective for you on just how much you appreciate the people who care about the craft
Yeah.
and the people who say that they care, but they're just in it for a little bit of, I guess you could say, oh, I'm a director. They just want that title, but
Yeah.
they have a passion, but it doesn't really meet the standards of where the end goal might be for some people,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
those are the people you see on social media where you see hundreds of selfies and BTS shots of the movie set. You know, you see all these lights and cameras and
Yeah,
crew, and the film never comes out. That's
it's rough.
why usually when I do films, like the last short film I did, it was a no budget film. The life of an independent film producer. I did pretty much everything on my own.
Mm,
I had one other person help me, my friend Daniel, and we the whole time we were filming, we realized we absolutely have no BTS shots of this
mhm.
entire production. So we actually took a couple sarcastically, just me sitting at a table with some of the gear, and
I love it.
and then but that film's actually out as opposed to all these people where they spend a lot of money. I've been on a film set where I believe the budget was at least $2,000. I actually referenced this in the film as a joke, but if you ever watch the film, I'll send you a link to it. It's still
Yeah,
doing the
please.
festival circuit, so it's a private link, but I'll send it to you. And everything that happens in this movie is something that really happened to me. It's not even an over exaggeration. And the audience, I've had a lot of audience reactions and they laugh. And I'm sure some of them don't realize that everything that I'm saying is true.
Yeah.
And and there's one in particular where I was on a film set and the script, it made really no sense. There wasn't really a story.
Hmm.
The budget was over $2,000, if I remember correctly. There was crew. We were out there all hours of the night, going to different locations. They didn't know what they were doing. There was no pre lighting. There was no pre production
I love it.
at all. And it was a complete disaster. And that's the longer you're in the industry, it starts to irritate you a lot when you show up on
Hmm.
set. You have actors sitting there, and you have crew trying to figure out, oh, how are we going to do the lighting? Oh, how do we want to shoot this? It's like,
Right. Having all of that in
why didn't you scout?
pre-pro. Yeah, yeah. Pre-pro is so important. And I think that just goes into like anything involved with any massive project that you go with. There is never enough time that you could put into pre-pro, in my opinion. Because the more detailed you can be for everybody, the better it is, no matter the project, right? Just speaking in general terms now, not just filmmaking. It just works in life, right? Like the better prepared you are, the easier it is. There's this quote, I don't know who it's from. I want to say Abraham Lincoln, where it's like, if you ask me to chop down a tree and I got 3 hours, I'm going to spend the first hour and a half or 2 hours sharpening my axe.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you know what? I like that. It makes sense. It's good, right? And I think if people took that approach to filmmaking, and I think everybody has those sets, I've been that person who's gone on film sets and been like, yo, what's going on? There's no planning here. But I've also been that person who hasn't done any planning at all and is just like, all right, you guys ready to shoot a movie? Okay, yeah, you stand there, look this way. Like, you don't know any of the terms. I remember one of the very first films that I did was called Running. It was 11 minutes long, and I wanted to really take after Christopher Nolan on this script, right? So there were 7 scenes, and scene 1, 3, and 5 had its own story if you watched it, right? And 2, 4, and 6 had its own story if you watched it. So you go back and forth, right? Real Christopher Nolan type shit. And you're like, what the hell's going on? But by the 7th scene, it ties it all together. And then it's like, that's your wow moment. So I was like, this is a great script. Let me get this person in it. I was using my girlfriend at the time. I used one of my friends from high school. And then I went onto the Facebook groups and I said, hey, look, I need an actor. No budget, right? Like, it's going to be shooting here in Avondale in Arizona. It's going to be this night and this night. Who can make it? And I had this guy. His name is Revis Dorsey, I believe his last name is. Absolutely fantastic guy. And from that relationship alone, he took a chance on me. I think he could tell very early on that I didn't know too much of what the hell I was doing, but he took a chance on me. He did the film, and he did this fight scene with, again, my girlfriend at the time, right? They had this little fight out in the middle of the street, choreographed it right then and there, right? and she's never fought before. I don't know who this guy is, if he has even like any background with it. But I remember after we did that scene and I got done hitting record, the very first take, I didn't care if it looked good or not. I was just happy we shot something. I was jumping up and down. I was going crazy and ballistic. I was so unprofessionally excited, but I didn't care because, yo, I wrote words. I'm seeing my words be brought to life. People are giving a crap about it. They're really in it. Like, it's happening. I'm making this movie. Like, this excitement just kind of came in, and just, of course, there was no planning. There was no actual audio. If you told me what a boomstick was, I would have been like, what is that? There was so much wrong with it. But nevertheless, I think we need to have those really rough sets, because then it teaches you, one, just how to become more balanced and more prepared, and gives you just such an appreciation for the craft itself. And for me, I did another film like that, which was even, I thought I was more prepared, but it was actually not as, it was kind of rough too, but it still came out good. Those are my first two films that I directed. And then after that, I kind of really started to get the hang of it, right? Did you have a similar experience? When you walked into the film industry and going on to sets, did you like jump the gun and go straight to directing and try to figure it out there? Because that's what I did. And then I went into acting. Or did you like, what was the start of you jumping into this 20-year career for? Or how did it start?
Well,
Yeah.
well, for 20 years, it wasn't exactly film. So about 20 years ago, I started out as a stand-up comedian, and I was
Oh
doing that
shit. Nice.
off and on. Yeah, it was like around 2008 when I was old enough to drink and I could actually get into places. I
Do you
was
still do shows now?
No, not now. No, I
Oh
don't
brother,
don't have
let's
time for
go.
that. I've thought about doing it. The last time I did stand up was at the Devil's Advocate almost 10 years ago. But once I started doing film, I kind of checked out on that. It'd be
Oh,
fun
got
to
it.
do and get back into. I
Let's
I
do
do
it.
I do like the art form,
Absolutely.
To this day I still think it's the hardest art form, just holding a microphone and making people laugh, and it's all on you. There's no special lighting. There's no someone out there to interact with. It's all on you. But so I started out as a stand-up comedian, early 20s. Around 2016 is when I met Kevin R. Phipps,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he was running the Artist Box at the time,
Hmm.
and Melissa Farley was doing an improv class at the time every Tuesdays, and I actually found this on Meetup. So I went in there, I went on stage, I made everyone laugh, and then I was asked, "Hey, do you want to do monthly improv shows?" So I started doing these monthly performances, kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Hmm.
Did that for a while, and then Kevin was teaching. He was doing his Meisner acting class in there, so I started
Yep.
taking Meisner. I graduated from his Meisner class,
Beautiful.
and at the time, he was looking for a new trustworthy producer for his films. And at the time, he was working on this film called My Secret War with a woman by the name of Rena Hyra. It was a short film that she wrote based on the Albanian genocide of 1999.
Mm.
And so I was the other executive producer on that, and it was a roughly around a 30-minute short film, won several awards all over the world.
Yeah, I saw clips of that. Kevin showed me some of it. And just to speak on it, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I hope I'm getting this right. Was it his niece? Who was it?
Yes.
It was his niece.
Harley
Who,
Phipps. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Phenomenal acting. I mean, but she has Kevin to teach her. And he's a phenomenal teacher. I took a little bit of his Meisner class. I never got to finish it, unfortunately. Um, would love nothing more than to finish it. But a 2-year commitment, at the time I was like, yeah, I got it. And then life happened, right? But
Right.
yeah, I've seen a little bit of that film.
Yeah.
Wow, phenomenal work.
So that set was very professional. It was a
Yeah.
very large budget, and I was producing it. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very fresh. I had
Mm,
never been on a film. So from my experience, I mean, I had done some minor things right before then, nothing that ever ended up being produced or off the ground. So I sort of had experience, but my first like real experience where pressure was on me it was a lot of pressure because I was pretty much on the highest, you know, job that you could think of on a film set, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of pressure,
Oh
and
yeah.
but we managed to get it done, and I'm proud to say that that was actually my first producing film out the door, and then we about a year later we started pre-production on Dr. Seville's horror show,
Mm-hmm.
which I played Dr. Seville and I produced that as well. So ever since then, that's been my standard, you know. And Kevin and I, you know, early on, you know what really, there was a situation. So we did a teaser trailer for My Secret War, and it was very early on. It was very early pre-production, and we did some footage of Harley running through this shrub like forest. It was actually in the back of his apartment complex, but it looked like a forest.
Yeah.
And we got some footage done that day. I took the footage home. He took the footage home, and he's like, "Okay, let's do an edit. I'll do an edit. You do an edit, and then we'll collaborate." And our edits were basically identical, like down to like a millisecond, the exact same cuts. And it was right
Mm,
then and there we knew that we had the same eye and the same standard as far as quality goes. So
beautiful.
anytime we work together on something, we demand the best, and our film sets are well-oiled machine. We're like leaf cutter ants
I love
on
that.
sets. It's very
I love that.
quiet. It's very military like. Everyone gets along. There's no shenanigans or anything like that.
I was asking Kevin when I was taking his classes, uh, pretty much how his sets run, and he pretty much said that, like it's very business, right? Like we're gonna find solutions, we're gonna make it work. We're here to work. Yes, we have the coolest job ever in the world. We're making a movie, but in order to make a movie and keep doing this, we have to also be serious about our craft,
Yeah.
right? We can't be lackadaisical. We can't just fix it in post.
Mm.
I think that nowadays you probably can with AI, but either way,
Right. Yeah.
um, I think there's still a standard that needs to always be set and met. And
Mm-hmm.
having a strong producer, which it seems like you very much are, that haven't we've yet to work with each other on a set, would love the opportunity and chance, because being on a well-oiled set, there's nothing like it. Like I said, it's so much fun because that when everybody's on the same page of a, let's just call it more strict professional set, when you can have fun because everybody's having fun then, because everybody knows the rules, the guidelines of, hey, look, this is work, this is playtime's over.
Mm.
Camera lights are on, everybody's getting into position, we're working, we'll chit chat later. And
Yeah.
then once that cut, everybody knows their roles, everybody knows what's happening, everybody knows when they got their break. And it happens because of that well-oiled machine, because of a great AD running a set, because of a great producer, because of everybody doing their part collaboratively. And I think that it's been some time since I've been on a film set now, a couple of years, regrettably, but there's something about that, right? When you get together with 20, 30 people, maybe a smaller crew, two people, as you said, or even you're making something yourself, it doesn't matter because it's still one of film, but it
Mm.
feels great when you work on a great set.
Yeah.
That's just, you can't beat it. You can't
Absolutely.
beat it. They become your best friends for those couple of days, depending on your relationship. I've had a ton of those where we were shooting up. I was shooting with a great friend of mine, Levi, and we were shooting up north for this project for 3 days. This little mini teaser trailer of like Jack the Ripper coming back, and he pretty much asked me last minute to jump on, and I was like, brother, I'm there. Let's go. So we drove up there, and we had so much fun, and that itself, yeah, that was last year. So it's been about a full year since I've been on a set. That was my first time traveling that far, and working as crew officially.
Mhm.
Because most of the time I've just been the actor on set, all hands off. So I got the little bit of the fun job out of it all. But I always talk to people behind the scenes. I'd always talk to Grip. I would always talk to producers. I talk to everybody, right? Makeup, crafty, PAs, everybody and everybody. There was nobody that I would not talk to and just make a friend with. So I picked up a lot of knowledge on the way. So Levi took a bet on me going out, and I worked my ass off on that set, but it was still such a fun set to be on,
Hmm.
right? Because it was that well-oiled machine, and it was that collaborativeness for those couple of days. You know, cell phones didn't really work because we were shooting up in the mountains in a cave, pitch black cave. We had to like kind of, it wasn't too bad of a walk, but we had to go over this hill and bring all the equipment in there. It was like real, like I felt, whoa, I'm really doing something. Like I'm really out here on this film set now. Like I got all these people, like it's us. People are looking to me to get stuff done. That responsibility on your shoulders, I think either makes or breaks you for the film industry.
Yeah.
You know, it really does, because you realize I may only get 5 minutes break because I got to break this down and start setting up for the next one, and get everything going. And I got to pack this up. Like it could break you down. It's long hours. And I don't think people really understand that, who aren't in the industry itself, the hard work that really goes into making these blockbuster films, short films, or even household films itself, um, which goes back into something like for the vertical filming, right? Like there's still so much to it that I'm very excited to see on how people create films, cinematic films. And I think it can be done. And I think it's going to blow me away. There's going to be a lot of weird ones, I think, that start off, right? I think I've seen a couple of them on TikTok already, but some of them who do vertical stuff, if it was done horizontally, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And I think those are the ones where like people found a great foundation for vertical filming already to have fun with it. Uh,
Yeah.
it's great.
I think that's why I hear a lot about dramas
Yeah.
being one of the big ones, and like you were saying, horror, that would make a lot of sense too.
Hmm. I mean, just think about like a psychological thriller
Yeah.
where you can really only see the actors' facial expressions, you hear sounds around them, you catch little glimpses of like paranormal activity stuff maybe happening behind them that they don't notice. Like that's up close and personal.
Mhm.
Because what else is there? What do they see that's freaking them out? Now, I think that's going to require so much emotion from the actor, right? Like they're really going to have to deliver on all of that while wearing this harness, and whatever else is happening in the back being timed perfectly, right? It really goes into like it being a play then, right? Like you're running a little skit and
Yeah.
everything has to be perfect. And when those come together, it's nice. But I would love to see, I would love to do that. I would love to do a psychological thriller like that. Just see how crazy we could really get all of that. I think that would be a fun little way to mess with people during the holidays for Halloween, you know. Drop a little
Yeah.
mini series like that, little 4 episodes, one each week, a minute long, quick little 4 minute thing. Ooh, that'd be dangerous. That'd be fun. When it comes to acting, how much do you use the Meisner technique?
Um, it's a good question. It really just depends on the film set.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the last time when I did, because I started that film in the life of an independent film producer. That one, I really didn't have a prep. I was just ready to go. I think I had
Yeah.
lived in that world for so long. It was really easy to get that out of me. Plus, I was going through a lot at the time, and so I was
Hmm.
using that too. So I guess you could say I was kind of method acting in that one. Um, and then there's other times where, uh, if I have, because one of the things that they teach you in Meisner is free associated writing, where you look at the
Hmm.
script, you look at the lines, you write out the lines, and then while you're writing it out, you continue to write past it to kind of give those lines
Yes.
more depth. So it really just depends. It just depends on the time frame that I have. If it's short bursts, like, hey, you got to do this now. There's some things that I can't do Meisner wise, and I have to find other tools in my box that may not be Meisner related in order to get that performance out. Not too long ago, I have a friend, Joey Johnson. Him
Hmm.
and we starred in a psychological thriller. We shot it out in Table Mesa called Unbroken, and
Nice.
it's in post production right now. And that was a lot of fun because that was the first time ever where I was able to star in a film, and I showed up on set and I was pampered like an actor. I didn't have to worry about a damn thing except
Yeah.
my performance. And that
Yep.
was after 10 years of struggle. Even Dr. Seville, when I was
Hmm.
in full makeup and everything, I was thinking about 100 different things on set, what could go wrong, because I was still had my producer brain on. And I was guilty of that too when we were doing the psychological thriller. I get sidetracked. I'm like, oh, it's starting to rain. You should move that,
Mm,
But then I was like, no, 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 no. Stay, be a pampered actor. We even got picked up and dropped off, and it was really nice. But in that situation, I was brought in. I was lucky to land that role because last minute, the person that was supposed to co-star with my friend Joey, he bailed,
oh
and so
no.
Joey called me. He's like, "Hey, I don't care what you're doing. You're gonna be in this film." So I was like, "Okay." And so it was the following day. We're driving up to Table Mesa, and I haven't even read the script yet. I'm literally just flashing through it, And so there really wasn't a lot of prep time that the Meisner technique would be used. So in that situation, it was really just my own utility box that, a lot of it was unrelated to the Meisner training. So again, it really just varies depending on what you're doing.
Nice.
When I played Dr. Seville, that was a lot of Meisner. That was a lot of Meisner training, a lot of prep work. I had a huge notebook of stuff, pictures that triggered me in specific ways to get
Right.
a certain performance out of me. A lot of prep work. So yeah.
I definitely can see that Meisner when I used it. Do you use any other techniques, or do you mainly just use Meisner and then with your, as you mentioned, your utility belt?
Uh, yeah, my utility belt. I don't. I'm not recommending this to anybody else because everybody, they have their own abilities to come down from trauma. For
Yeah.
me, I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life, probably more than the average person. And so sometimes I'll just pull from traumatic experiences, but
Hmm.
I also have the mental ability the mental and emotional ability to, you know, calm down and get that out of my mind.
Right.
Whereas there's a lot of method actors that can't do that. And that I think that was the whole reason why Meisner was created anyway. Was to have an imaginary circumstance with a seed of truth. So you create this false story in your mind that can trigger a certain emotional, uh, you know, whatever you're trying to achieve, and then after the scene is done, you can go back to the realization that hey, this is not real, and then you can dial it down. Whereas a method actor, they'll just like, oh, I remember it was really traumatic when my twin brother died. Let me
Let me
just
live
think
in
about
that.
that. Yeah, let me live in that for a month.
Man, I was guilty of that for sure. So I realized when I switched over and I started doing a lot more acting, I was method acting like crazy. Like that's the
Mhm.
only way I would do it.
Yeah.
And I understood that early on because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in. Like that's the only way I can do it. I can't pretend. I have to absorb. So my story is very similar to that, where when I was method acting, I was in it. There was this film that I did called Murder Pizza, and it was a duality role. I played the homeless man, right? This drunk homeless man, twisted in the head, nasty, disgusting, right? And then I also played this guy who was also a owner of a pizza shop. Again, he was very mentally evil in itself. So automatically I was like, all right, great. I got two negatives. So when I found out that I got the role, I remember telling my whole family, hey, look, I'm going to be weird for like the next couple of months because I'm practicing for these roles. I'm getting emotionally there to understand these characters. Because I remember, Matthew McConaughey, when I was watching his interviews, he would be like, you got to know your guy. And in order to know your guy, you got to be your guy. What would my guy do? Totally ignoring the part where he said when he was doing,
It's a good
I forget.
impression.
Thank you, thank you. When he was doing this one film, I forget what it was, but it had Christian Bale in it with the dragons and everything, and they're slaying dragons. He was talking about, he shaved his head then, but he would also go running in like this desert because he'd be like, that's what my guy would do, barefoot,
Mhm.
right? So he started to do it, but then he realized, my feet are burning. Like my feet are cut up. I ran 5 miles in the heat on the rocks. Like this was not a good idea. He got too much into it, right? So I ignored that part because I still went super deep into my role because I'm like, well, I'm just mentally getting there. I'm not physically running. I could mentally get there and still pull myself back. I couldn't. Here's what happened. So the film goes on, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to ruin it too much for anybody, just in case people want to see it. But at the end of it, I end up dying, right? So the homeless man ends up dying. And the way that I die, they slit my neck, right? And mind you, I'm going back and forth between these two evil characters. And I'm going into makeup so they can put like a prosthetic fake neck over my neck so that when she cuts, they have the blood fall out, right? So I'm lying there on the on the kitchen floor and I'm playing dead, right? Who knew it could be so bad? She pulls the bag over, right? It's so cold. I know everybody's there. I know I'm alive. I could feel the dull knife, right? Like it's a prop knife. I could feel the knife going over. She does her scene and I could feel the blood start going, dripping down. Like I actually felt, okay, mate, whoa, shit, this is crazy. And then she had to cut off my arm and eat some of it. Fucking weird. Crazy. Love the film. Love the film. But the point is, once they yelled cut, everybody left except for me. And I remember being there and I have a photo of it somewhere and it's absolutely crazy because it looks so real. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick too, because I want to show it to you because it's kind of one of my favorite photos in me doing film. But it just goes to show, okay, yeah, here it is, how bloody this scene was in order for me to be like freaked out. And I mean, I was on makeup and everything, right? Let me see if I can get this for you. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's her cutting my arm off. I'm dead. Look at all that blood behind me, right? Let me see if I can get to like the next photo, which is even, you kind of just understand how wild it was. Like I had blood all over me. Oh, can you still see it?
It went away.
Oh, let me see. I had blood all over me. Like I was not okay. I was not okay. So what happened was I was just standing there like this. And one of the BTS people, like I couldn't talk. I could physically, I could not speak. Right. And one of the BTS guys, I remember he just took it. And like, I was pretty much saying like, help me in my head, but I couldn't. He took the photo and left. And then the only light that was there was from the camera. So I was standing there in the darkness and the director's mom came over and she was like, honey, like, are you okay? And I was like freezing cold, just died, standing there. I'm alone in this kitchen. I don't know if I'm actually dead or not because I got so into it. But she helped me out. She helped me get dressed and like take off all these clothes and put a one towel on me because it was like 40 degrees out. And I just got done doing like another kind of water scene outside. So I was just all over the place, really getting into it. But for 2 weeks after, I was so depressed. I was reliving this nightmare of this photo of me just standing there dead, alone, gone, because I got too into the role of method acting. And that's when I realized, okay, I got to take it back a little bit. I didn't. My next film, I played 5 different characters. So I don't know, but that kind of just set a trend for me to play the villain or to play someone who has like these duality roles because I guess I could do it decently well. And that was a fun little interview process. And that real quick, I'll explain that one. But with that, when it came to the audition, not for this film that I'm showing you here, but a completely different one called The Master, I had to play 5 different characters. The craziest part of that one, Allen, dude, the wild part is I did not do any prep work for the audition. I had to have a monologue memorized, ready to go. Okay. But I remember in the audition, notes for the actor, they put, they want you to be authentic. They want to see how well you can improv, but have a monologue ready. In my mind, I'm like, again, Matthew McConaughey, I know my guy. And my guy is me. I'm going in there and I'm being me because this film is me. It's me battling me, right? Because it's like the protagonist is fighting himself mentally, yada, yada. I was like, oh, brother, I got that. So, I walk in there to the audition. You know, you have your three people sitting down, the lights are on you, they start the recording. All right, go ahead and slate. All right, hey, Gino Zabala, yada yada yada. Here's what I'm here for. And I start going, and they're like, all right, do you have your monologue ready? And to this point, mind you, I still have no idea what I'm going to say. All I know is I'm going to improv the whole thing, the whole entire thing. I said, yeah, absolutely. I got it. Like, all right, whenever you're ready. I took 3 seconds. And next thing I know, I'm just going. I'm talking, I'm speaking these words. Like it felt like something else just kind of took over me. And I just gave it my all. Like right then and there was my give it everything you've got to see if you have any type of skill. Because if you don't, you won't get picked. Because there was 30 other people in that, waiting room. You know, that was just day one of auditions. There was 2 other days. So I was like, this is going to be my sign and my test to myself to see if I've got it or if I don't. So I went in there and I went improv the whole entire thing. And I think he was more surprised about that because the director, he was just like, where did you get that from? I said, honestly, I made it up right now for you guys. I'm not even going to lie to you. I didn't have anything prepared. I just saw what you guys were offering and I said I could do that. I'm going to give it my best. And I think that certain raw authenticity, he took a gamble on me. And that ended up being probably one of my most challenging film sets. Because again, with different characters, I had to play with different postures. I had to play with different tones of my voice and the different way, like aneurysms, because each one of these characters had to be different, right? Like you had to distinctively see and hear and feel the difference of these characters sharing the room and sharing the space and this atmosphere, right? So, but that was that. So I've definitely done a whole bunch of method acting to finish off this topic. But Meisner, when I met Kevin, and it really helped me understand that I don't have to kill myself for these films.
Right.
I can still enjoy the depth of going as deep as I can go, but know that I have a way out. And I think that was so crucial for me to realize that, because before then, I've already been acting for probably 2 years before I even 2.5 years, 3 years before I met Kevin and took his class for Meisner. So I was already going through an emotional roller coaster with every film that I was on. Right? It was horrible. And for once I wanted to play a good guy. And eventually I started to get those roles, which were nice. But it was nice to not walk away from a film and still be traumatized. Have you ever had an experience like that, like before Meisner, where you would go too deep and you would carry that on with you?
um, no, because some of the major things that I did was during and after Meisner graduation, the most significant roles. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Um, I would in the future. Well, I mean, with the producer film, I did another short film, dark comedy called Catastrophe.
Mm,
Um, that it was the same thing. I don't think I really used any Meisner in that. I was just being myself. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't like I had to pull something dark in order to
yeah.
accomplish that. I was actually in that film. I'm playing a pathological liar that's just trying to. I'm basically trying to hook up with my young girlfriend, and I'm avoiding all of these really important obligations in order to get what I want towards the end of the film. And a lot of disasters happen along the way.
Mm,
With that, I actually was just playing a friend I used to have. He had that kind of mentality. So I was basically just being my friend in that film, and a lot of people really resonated with it. And they thought it was they're like, oh man, I used to have a friend like that. So I was
yeah.
basically playing a character of I used to have a friend like this kind of character.
If you were to come back into stand-up comedy, how do you think if you were to come back to stand-up comedy, how do you think that would play now versus then? Would you write out your your whole entire, would you use AI? Would you do it all yourself? Would you test it out with a couple of friends? Like if you were to step back into that scene, what does that process look like for you?
I would probably do it the exact same way. The way I do it, I have a really good memory when I have trigger words or sentences,
Yeah.
subject matter. So the way I used to do it when I was 21, usually my segments were, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what venue I was playing at. But I would basically have anywhere from 5 to 10 different subjects, and I would just write it out on a note card. And I would write out one subject, like one political joke. I don't even remember it now, but it was, during the elections between John McCain and Obama.
Mm,
This was like 2008, and so basically, I would just write Obama McCain, election. That's all I would write, and then I would be able to go off, 10 minutes of memorizing a structured joke out of that. I just needed that trigger sentence to do it. So I'd probably do it the same way. A lot of my humor was very sarcastic, deadpan, dark type of humor. Some
mhm.
of my favorite comedians are people like, I'd say my humor. I don't want to compare, because everyone wants to be, their own unique thing. But I really did pull a lot of essence from Bill Hicks and Stephen Wright. So it was kind of a hybrid of that, hybrid of Bill Hicks and Stephen Wright. So it was very deadpan, dry, but also it made you think a lot. It
Yeah.
didn't really have a lot of flatulent humor or things like that. It was very touchy, trigger subjects. And I think one of the reasons why I stopped doing it was towards that time, people started to get really PC.
Mm,
I think back in 2008, you could get away with saying a lot more than you can now. But I think the pendulum swinging back
I think so
the
too.
opposite way again. So maybe I will get back into it and be even darker than I was before with so much more experience now after 20 years.
I think you should. I think you definitely should. I think that type of humor needs to come back. I think there's a bunch of people out there who can't take a joke, and even if it was a joke was told right in front of them, they wouldn't be able to laugh. The world's gotten too serious and too dark, and I'm not saying that we should ignore those type of things, but it's always going to be there. And just because negative stuff and life and unfortunately very traumatic things are going to happen, that shouldn't stop us from still laughing, right? And
Yeah,
so I think the world's gotten too serious on that note, and we need to have comedians come back and crack some jokes that make you go, "Holy shit, what did he just say? Did
mhm.
he really just say that? Yo, that was funny as shit. That was good." I think we need some of that. I think people play it safe too much and try to be a people pleaser, and when they do that, they don't please anybody. Everybody can see through their shit. So I think
Yeah.
you should do it. Let's do it. Let me know. I'll be there.
Okay. Yeah. I'll start writing some stuff.
I'm
Start work
serious, man. I'll
working
tell you
out some
what,
material.
I will go with you and do it too.
Okay.
Because then that forces me. It's an accountability partner. Oh man, really gets me back out there. I've never done stand-up comedy. I don't know how good I'll be or how bad I'll be. I'll probably bomb, but
It's
fuck it.
yeah. It. I still think to this day it's the hardest form of art, as far as acting and stuff, because they say that the number one fear is public speaking.
Oh yeah.
It trumps death. Like, less people are afraid of death than public speaking. And when you are that type of form, it's very nerve wracking. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how I did it. I would just go out
Mm-hmm.
there and I have my material, and I did sets where I bombed, didn't
Oh
get a
yeah.
single laugh. But I appreciated those because it really humbles you. And if you can
Yes.
get through those, you can get through anything. And I've had many
Absolutely.
times where I bombed, and I'm like, oh, that was the worst experience I ever had. But
Mm-hmm.
I was really thankful for it, because now, after that, I was able to go back up there with a lot more confidence, because I'm like, this is the worst thing that can happen. Everyone's going to hate me. And then that's it, and then I move on.
That's it. I think that's a great mentality to have, and I can see that, especially in being a creative arts, which it is, right? Like everything that you've been doing from filmmaking, producing, writing, acting in itself, and even doing stand up. I mean, it's all a creative art, but you have to fail. You have to fuck up the sentence. You have to fuck up the scene. You have to fuck up on some type of scheduling or understanding shit, because that's how you get better. Like that's just it. You're never gonna get better at anything if you shelter yourself and say, I don't want to look stupid. you have to look stupid. You have to go in there sometimes, and you got to roll the dice. You know, you have to walk into an audition with no material ready to go, and just trust your gut. You know, sometimes you may have to say, you know what, no, this one's a little too big to gamble on. Let me actually do my due diligence.
Mhm.
You know, so I think that's a very crucial thing to do, to be a part of, is take your time and go back to just initially planning everything out, but having fun with it, having the structure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solid.
Yeah, and I work well under pressure.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't work well under pressure. Sometimes my brain is going so many different directions, but if I'm given a deadline, or
Mhm.
like when the director's saying action, or if I'm in an
Yep.
audition, and it's like, oh, here we go. It doesn't matter how hard my heart is pounding. There's just something inside of me that when that pressure is on me, I can deliver. It's a really weird phenomenon for me.
It feels good though, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But then
Like it does.
you have those crashes though. I think some of the worst crashes I ever had was when I used to do stand up. I would do a set, and I would get the whole place just roaring with laughter. And
Mm.
then after my set was done and it was all said and done, I go home and it's quiet and everything, I would get really depressed. That was some of the
Mm.
worst feelings of my life, was doing a really good set and then going home to silence. It's almost
Why do you
like
think that was?
I I think it I think I think it hits the same receptors as like a drug, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think it's how
Oh
some
yeah.
people get addicted to it. I've never really felt that way with acting. Um, yeah, I never felt the same. It was only with stand up, when I do a really good bit and I get the whole place laughing. Maybe it's just the liveness of it, because
Yeah.
I've never done like plays or anything like that. But I wonder if I get that same kind of feeling. Oh, you know what? To tell you the truth, I would do improv shows and I'd get that same feeling. If our whole troupe would, do a really good improv show and get a lot of people come up to me, oh, that was so funny. At the
Mm.
end of the night, you go home, you're alone, and you get really depressed. You just come down from that high, and yeah.
Do you think it was the depression, or do you think it was loneliness? Did you go home to anybody?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depended on what time period of my life.
Sure.
But I'd always feel the same, even if I was around somebody. When I wasn't doing that anymore, I would have these
Mm.
withdrawals, almost like I want to make someone laugh again right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Uh,
addiction, that need. Yeah, I definitely know that feeling. I went through that. I I was the MC of this event called Seize the Night, and it was a very fun and exciting experience because it was my first time as an MC. Not my first time on a stage, but my first time on a stage as an MC, the whole thing. And you don't have any material, right? Like you have guidelines, you know what's going to happen from start to end, right? You know your timelines, you know your segments, but you don't really know what you're going to say. So you really have to go off the crowd a little bit. And I was a little nervous because I had my family there, and I was like, hey, come see me on stage. Everybody showed up. I was like, oh shit, this is making me nervous. So now I'm really nervous. And in a room full of people I don't know, I don't know you. I'm good. I don't fear your judgment. But if I know you, I have to see you again next week. Don't mention what I did on stage last week. We don't talk about that. Like now I'm nervous.
yeah.
So I had these tickets for a free drink. So what I would do is to like kind of like take the edge off of me being a little stressed, is after every segment, I would go up to the bartender and I would skip the line. So I didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, can I get one? She was like, yeah, take it, honey. You're good. I was like, oh, perfect. And then I'd go back up on stage, do my thing. And then like, I'd come back down and be like, damn, I drank that whole entire thing. Hey, can I get another whiskey? Yeah, I got you, honey. Boom. Like, so she was giving me like free drinks through the whole night, which I will say helped out. I didn't slur my words. I didn't get wasted or anything, but it was just enough to kind of keep the edge of, hey, we're having fun. We're groovy. Hey, I see you up there. How you do? Like, it broke down the barrier,
Oh,
because
yeah,
there
for sure.
is something different about doing it live,
Mhm.
doing it in front of people where you don't know what their reaction is going to be, where it's, you don't know these people either. There's that huge insecure feeling that comes over you that doesn't happen, because I've had the same thing happen, that does not happen on a film set. So it's funny that you said that, because I've had the same experience. Because on a film set in front of 30 people, cool. What are we doing? You want me to do it again? I just did the most stupidest thing I could ever do as a human being in my life. I'll do it again. You tell me to jump, I'm jumping. Like, let's do this. Even being practically naked. No, I wasn't naked, but I was in my chonies. I was in my underwear for a scene where I actually fell asleep in the scene. And in one of the films, that's what you see. Like, what they used is me actually dead ass asleep. And I told them, hey, look, if you want me to sleep in the scene, it's going to take you guys 45 minutes to get set up. I'm going to take a nap. If I'm going to take a nap, I'm going to get comfy. The funny part about it is we were shooting on location at the mayor of Buckeye, his house. One of his kids was in the film program that I just happened to, all right, hey, look, let's make this film. And so I got, brought on as an actor, but his dad is the mayor of Buckeye. So I was sleeping in the mayor of Buckeye's like bed at his house for the film while they were shooting this thing. And like, I didn't care. I felt so comfortable, right? Where most people would be like, yo, wait, like, I don't know about that. I was like, I'm gonna get comfortable. I know you guys. Let's do this. But again, when you go out onto that stage and you don't know people, those walls go up. It's more than nerves. It's a little bit of that fear, like you were saying, the public speaking, but you can't really put your finger on it, because it's like it should be the same. There shouldn't be the nervousness. If you've done it over here, you should be able to do it over here. But for some reason, there's still that little bit of disconnect. And I think it's maybe just you got to put in the reps a little bit.
Yeah,
that's what I've equated it to. So we got to get up on stage.
Yeah, when I have time, I'm definitely up for it. I got so many things going on right now. It's crazy.
Brother, I know. This is what we've been trying to get this going. I'm very happy that you were messaging me about this. Because life got away life happened to me. It didn't get away from me. Life happened. I was like, all right, cool. Let me focus on this. And then, every couple of weeks I'd get your text. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. I think some days I didn't even respond, but in my head I was like, yes, yes, perfect. And then eventually here we are. So I appreciate your patience with that. It means a lot, man.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at
all. So perfect. But we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a good chat. I'm going to call it here.
Okay.
Allen, thank you for coming on, man. I do appreciate it. Let's do it again. The next time we chat, I want to know more about, let me see if I got this right. No, Susan's summons Summer? No.
Summers summons Savannah.
Summon triple S. I want to see. I want to know more of the progress.
Summers summons Savannah.
Summers summons Savannah. And you guys are still in pre right now, figuring everything out. Let's get you back on here when it's out, so we could take a look at it and see what you guys end up doing with this vertical stuff. I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah, and try saying it 5 times fast.
I will not. wait, I actually will. All right, what is it? Summer summons Savannah. 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 Summer summons Savannah.
No. Yeah,
maybe. I had to stop thinking for a second. That's what I had to turn off my brain.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, done deal, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it again. And
we'll
thank you for having the next one.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. I cut the recording. So, hey, man, honestly, I do appreciate you coming on. I really do. It means a lot to me. Thank you for really being patient. And everything else of that sort. It means the world. So let's get together soon. Do it again. Be in touch. Send me those links. I want to see, the progress of what you got going on and anything else of that sort. And if you know of any networking events coming up, shoot them my way. I may not be able to make it. Life is still happening, but it's getting a little bit more foundational, which is good. But still send it my way. If I can make it happen, I'd love to go.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I do have a friend. I don't know how often you do the podcast, but he's also another actor in the community. My friend Joey, he was part of that psychological thriller film I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd be interested in interviewing him. He's
absolutely. I'll tell you what. Do this. Do a 3-way text.
Bio.
Yeah, do a 3-way text. I'll have him on either way and just chit chat with him. I know next week and the week after I'm smacked, so it may be the beginning of July. But yeah, I'll get him in. I'd love that.
Cool.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, send this. Do a 3-way text. See if he's up for it. If he is, send the text whenever, and then me and him will just start chit chatting.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you later.
All right, cool.